You've heard of Hitler, Stalin, and Genghis Khan, men whose names are forever etched into history for their cruelty. But what if I told you that history's shadows conceal women whose brutality matched or even surpassed theirs? Not queens of grace or mothers of nations, but women who manipulated, tortured, and killed with terrifying precision. Women who turned castles into dungeons and courts into theaters of terror. Their stories aren't told in textbooks. They linger in forgotten trial records, whispered folklore, and dark corners of the past. Today, we rip open the pages of history to reveal them. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to hear is not just chilling, it's horrifying. These are the most evil women in history, and you've probably never heard of them. Number 1, Elizabeth Báthory, Hungary. Bloodshed, nobility, and over 600 alleged victims. In 16th century Hungary, nestled deep in the Carpathian Mountains, loomed Countess Castle, the ancestral home of Countess Elizabeth Báthory. Born into one of the most powerful noble families in Central Europe, she was showered with privilege. She could read and write in multiple languages, studied science and politics, and even rubbed shoulders with royalty. But Elizabeth's legacy wouldn't be one of intellect or influence. It would be of blood. According to hundreds of witness testimonies, she was a serial torturer, a predator in noble silk. She lured village girls into her service with the promise of education or work, only to imprison, torment, and kill them. Tales describe gruesome scenes. Girls left naked in the snow and doused with cold water, others burned with red-hot coins, or had their flesh ripped from their bodies while alive. She allegedly bathed in the blood of virgins to preserve her beauty, though some historians debate this, saying it may have been political propaganda to discredit her. But even if the stories are exaggerated, over 300 documented statements point to a horrifying truth. When authorities finally acted, they found bodies buried around the castle. Servants testified in court. And yet, because of her noble blood, Báthory was never officially tried. Instead, she was walled up in her own castle, a prisoner of her own making. A single slit in the bricks passed her food, until, 4 years later, she died alone in silence. Was she framed? Or was she a vampire countess, hiding her horrors behind aristocratic grandeur? Number 2, Delphine LaLaurie, United States. The mistress of high society and gut-wrenching cruelty. The streets of 1830s New Orleans were alive with wealth, music, and Southern charm, and none epitomized the city's social elite more than Madame Delphine LaLaurie. Her home on Royal Street hosted glittering soirees attended by politicians and artists. But beyond the grand chandeliers and velvet gowns lay a secret so twisted, it shocked even a society used to cruelty. The truth came out on April 10th, 1834. A fire broke out in the mansion. Firefighters stumbled upon something that made even hardened men recoil. A locked attic room where enslaved people had been mutilated beyond imagination. Some were strapped to tables, dissected alive. Others had limbs broken and reset in animalistic configurations. One woman was said to have her mouth sewn shut. Witnesses described a scene straight from a nightmare. Jars filled with organs, bones stacked like kindling. And yet, Delphine LaLaurie calmly vanished. She fled to France under the cover of darkness, never facing justice. Rumors claim she lived out her days in Paris under a false name. Others say she returned in secret. Her house still stands today, a tourist attraction for ghost hunters. But the real horror lies not in the spirits that may haunt it, but in the atrocities that actually happened within its walls. Number 3, Zetian, China, an empress, executioner, and the mother of a nation. In the rigid, patriarchal world of imperial China, one woman broke every rule. Zetian began her journey as a concubine to the Tang Emperor Taizong. After his death, she seduced his son, became his empress, and slowly consolidated absolute power. She accused rivals of treason, had them tortured and killed, and even eliminated her own family members. In one chilling episode, she allegedly killed her own infant daughter to frame the former empress and rise higher in the court. Once empress, Wu created the Zhou dynasty and became the sole female emperor in Chinese history. Her spies monitored every whisper in the empire. Dissent was crushed ruthlessly. Executions were common. Bodies hung in public squares as warnings. Yet Wu Zetian also rebuilt China's crumbling infrastructure. She promoted scholars based on merit rather than class, opened up trade, and encouraged the arts. Was she a cruel tyrant, or a visionary leader who played by the only rules available to her? History remembers her both ways, as a reformer who brought prosperity and a ruler who bathed in blood to keep her throne. Number 4, Ilse Koch, Germany, the Witch of Buchenwald, horror in human form. If evil had a face during the Holocaust for many, it was Ilse Koch. The wife of Karl Koch, Commandant of Buchenwald, she quickly became known for her savage behavior and twisted desires. Prisoners claimed she patrolled the camp in boots and gloves, pointing out inmates with interesting tattoos. Those people were then murdered, their skin allegedly preserved as trophies. Eyewitnesses spoke of lampshades and book covers made from human skin, though much of this evidence was lost or suppressed. Ilse was nicknamed the Witch of Buchenwald for her cruelty. She laughed as prisoners were whipped. She beat inmates herself. Survivors described her as a sadist who delighted in degradation. After the war, she was arrested, tried by a U.S. military tribunal, and sentenced to life. But controversy followed. Her sentence was reduced to just 4 years. Outraged, the German people pushed for a retrial. In 1951, she was convicted again, this time by a German court, and imprisoned for life. In 1967, Ilse Koch hanged herself in her cell. Her death ended a life of cruelty, but her legend lives on as one of the most monstrous figures of the Nazi era. Number 5, Ranavalona I, Madagascar, the Iron Queen, Defender, and Destroyer. Far from Europe's castles and courts, on the island of Madagascar, rose a queen unlike any other. Ranavalona, I reigned from 1828 to 1861, a 33-year rule defined by fear and isolationism. She came to power by orchestrating a coup, eliminating political rivals, and asserting her absolute control. To protect her kingdom from foreign interference, she expelled Christian missionaries and executed local converts. Churches were burned. Those caught practicing Christianity were often tortured and killed. Her use of the Tangina trial became infamous. It involved forcing the accused to eat 3 pieces of chicken skin and drink poison. Survival meant innocence. Tens of thousands died under this system. Ranavalona's forced labor policies pushed her people to exhaustion. Massive construction projects, especially the royal palace, claimed thousands of lives. Dissenters were forced to walk barefoot through jungles, deserts, and mountains, often starving along the way. Yet, under her iron grip, Madagascar remained independent while neighboring lands fell to colonial rule. To her supporters, she was a nationalist hero. To her enemies, a genocidal tyrant. Her reign reduced the population by nearly half. What drives someone to become a monster? Is it power, paranoia, or something darker that festers behind the mask of civility? These women weren't simply cruel. They were complex, intelligent, and terrifying. They ruled with iron wills, shaped history, and left legacies soaked in blood. They remind us that evil knows no gender, that brutality can wear a crown, speak in poetry, or smile through a silk veil. So, which of these stories chilled you the most? Or do you know another woman whose dark legacy deserves the spotlight? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe, and join us again as we continue to uncover the hidden, horrific, and forgotten truths of our past.